The desert sun was slowly sinking behind the dusty mountains of Flagstaff, Arizona, washing the small town in a soft orange glow. To most people, it was peaceful, families gathering for dinner, porch lights flickering on. But inside a quiet, two-story house on Birchwood Lane, 16-year-old Emily Parker felt only dread. Her stepfather, Mark, paced the living room with a beer in his hand and anger in his eyes. He had found a message on her cracked phone, just a normal text from her classmate asking about homework. But to him, every little thing was a reason to control her. To break her, to remind her she was powerless. "You think I won't check your messages?" he roared, slamming her phone into the floor. It shattered. Emily flinched, pressing herself against the wall, breath trembling. She had learned not to cry in front of him, tears only made him angrier. Her mom, exhausted and defeated, stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. She wasn't cruel, she was just scared. Too scared to fight him. Too scared to protect her own daughter. That hurt more than anything. When Mark stormed off to his room, Emily didn't move for a full minute. Her heart hammered in her ribs. She could feel the bruises on her arm, souvenirs from earlier arguments. She knew deep down, if I stay here, eventually something worse will happen. The sky outside was turning purple. Emily grabbed her worn backpack, shoved in a sweater, a notebook, the little cash she'd saved, and quietly slipped out the back door. She didn't have a plan. She just remembered one place she had seen people who didn't look afraid of anyone. The Route 66 roadside diner, the one where the bikers stopped on weekends. Her legs felt like they were running by themselves, carrying her past gas stations and neon lights buzzing in the evening air. Cars rushed by, people laughed in restaurants, the world kept spinning, unaware of the storm inside her chest. The familiar sound reached her before she even saw the building, the low, powerful growl of motorcycles. Hell's Angels jackets gleamed under the parking lot lights. Big men with beards, leather vests, tattoos, the kind of people most teens would avoid. But Emily wasn't afraid of them. Not after what she had lived with. She pushed open the diner door. The bell chimed. Conversations paused. She froze. Then her voice cracked. "Please, I need help." A large biker at the counter turned. His patch red, bare, and though he looked intimidating, tall, broad-shouldered, gray beard, his eyes softened when he saw her shaking hands and tear-stained face. "What's going on, sweetheart?" he asked gently, motioning her to sit. Emily didn't realize she'd been holding her breath until everything poured out. The yelling, the bruises, the fear, the broken phone. Her voice trembled, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Bear listened quietly, jaw tightening, eyes filled with something fierce, not anger at her, but for her. When she finished, silence settled over the table. "No one hurts a kid on our watch," Bear finally said, voice steady as steel. Emily felt herself exhale, for the first time in years, because in that moment, she knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had found protectors, and for the first time, hope. Emily didn't sleep that night. She stayed in a small booth at the diner, wrapped in a spare leather jacket one of the bikers gave her. Outside, motorcycles rumbled occasionally as riders came and went, checking the street, watching the house she had run from. The moon hung low, and the cool Arizona air pressed against the diner windows. Bear sat across from her, arms folded, talking softly whenever she looked nervous. He didn't pry, didn't push for more details, he simply made sure she wasn't alone. For the first time in her life, someone stood between her and danger instead of behind it. "Tomorrow morning," Bear finally said, "we do this the right way. You're going to be safe." Emily nodded, fingers wrapped around a warm cup of cocoa. Safety. The word felt unfamiliar on her tongue, almost like a dream. The diner's neon lights flickered, casting colors across her tired face. She wondered if this was what peace felt like. Quiet, warm, held together by strangers who shouldn't care but somehow did. By dawn, she could see her house from the diner window as the bikers pulled up outside it, not charging in, not breaking down the door like movies showed, just standing there. Silent, immovable, guardians of the road, now guardians of a girl. Mark burst out the front door within minutes, shouting wild threats. But his voice didn't carry the same power as last night. His rage bounced off denim and leather instead of a terrified teenager. Bear stepped forward, his face calm but firm. "She's done living in fear," he said flatly. Mark looked ready to throw a punch, until he heard the sirens. 2 patrol cars turned the corner, lights flashing. The officers approached quickly. Emily had given statements, shown her bruises, and Bear had already called in what he knew. And Mark had a history the police were very familiar with. Violations, complaints, warnings that were never enough, until now. This time, the truth came with witnesses who wouldn't be ignored. Mark tried to argue, to point at Emily, to call her ungrateful and dramatic. But no one listened. The officers didn't even need to raise their voices. They cuffed him and read his rights while he cursed into the dry morning air. Emily watched from across the street, shaking, not from fear, but from release. Tears blurred her vision. She was not weak. She was not alone. She had been believed. When it was over, the engines hummed again. Bear walked across the pavement and draped his heavy leather vest across her shoulders, not as a membership, but as a shield. "You're family now," he said quietly. "And family looks out for each other." Emily broke. Not in fear, but in relief. She clutched the vest, breathing in leather, metal, dust, freedom. A future she never thought she'd have. Her mother stepped outside, tears streaming, whispering apologies. Emily hugged her, forgiving, but no longer dependent. She was stronger now. She had seen what real protection looked like. And as the sun climbed into the desert sky, Emily climbed onto the back of a bike. Not to run away, but to move forward. Safe, seen, defended. For the first time, her life was her own.